Aloha, everyone. I'm Felicia Miller Johnson, and this is another episode of All Intuitive Conversation. Aloha, everyone. I am so excited to have an all intuitive conversation with Terry Tucker. So let's bring him to the stage. Aloha, Terry.
Aloha, Felicia. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to talking with you.
Absolutely. So, as most people kind of know, we have never met before or had a conversation at all. So, with that, tell me a little bit about Terry.
Sure. So I'll try to give you the condensed version. Born
Mhm.
and raised in on the south side of Chicago. You can't tell this from looking at me or my voice, but I'm 6'8" tall, and I played college
Wow.
basketball at the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina, despite having 3 knee surgeries in high school. When I graduated, I moved home to find a job. I'm really going to date myself now, so have your indulgence if you wouldn't mind, please. This was
Yes.
long before the internet was available to find a job, and I was all set to make my mark on the world. Excuse me, with my
Mhm.
newly obtained business administration degree.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I was able to find that first job in the corporate headquarters of Wendy's International, the hamburger chain.
Right.
Unfortunately, I ended up living with my parents for the next 3.5 years as I helped my mom care for my father and my grandmother, who were both dying of different forms of cancer. In my professional career, as I mentioned, I started out at Wendy's, was a hospital administrator, then made a huge pivot in my life and became a police officer, worked undercover narcotics, was a SWAT team hostage negotiator. Then I started my own school security consulting business, coached girls high school basketball in Texas, became a motivational speaker, had a book published in 2020. But for the last 10 years, I've been dealing with this very rare form of cancer. And then finally, my wife and I have been married for 28 years. We have one child, a daughter, who's a graduate of the United States Air Force Academy and is an
Mhm.
officer in the new branch of the military, the Space Force.
Wow. Okay, there is a lot of different avenues. First, I'm going to say I'm a military family as well. So thank you for the service and thanking your daughter. And then the next question thought I had was how does someone that is 6'8" be undercover?
That's a great question,
I'm
and I
like,
get that. I get that a lot, but the way I respond to that is that industry, the drug industry, and it is an industry, is
yeah.
motivated by greed. And as long as you have money, you'll find somebody to sell you drugs. So it didn't really matter how tall I was. I mean, one time I posed as a professor of metallurgy from the University of Cincinnati. I was a policeman in Cincinnati, and I
Uh-huh.
bought drugs from these kids from Dayton who came down to because they wanted to party in Cincinnati. So I bought drugs from them, and instead of partying in Cincinnati, they partied in the Hamilton County Justice Center. So
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Cause I'm like, dude, you're not hiding at 6'8"
yeah,
and you're standing out. So that, like you said, basketball youth, Wendy's. Okay, so what do you think of their new campaign? What is it? Ready Hot Fries? What do you think of that?
yeah. I mean, they're going up against McDonald's. Everybody loves McDonald's fries, and they're like, well, we're going to try to compete with them. I don't
Yes.
know. I mean, it's been a long time since I did that. So
Uh,
I don't usually eat fast food now, so I couldn't tell you.
hmm. Yeah. Well, I thought that was interesting because you're right. I was like, that's straight coming for McDonald's for sure. I was like, Ready Hot Fries. I was like, okay, let's see, see how that works out for them. For sure. So when you had the transition from because you were talking about Wendy's and then working in the hospital and then becoming a police officer, when do you know it's time to make a transition? Like, what signs or feelings do you experience? Because those are
I,
huge differences.
They are. They're huge, and actually, there's a reason for that. So
Yeah.
I always felt my passion, even from a very young age, was to be in law enforcement.
Mhm.
But my grandfather was a Chicago police officer from 1924 to 1954. So He was in Chicago during Prohibition, when alcohol was outlawed in the United States, during the
Mhm.
Great Depression in the late 20s and 30s, and during the gangs, Al Capone and all the gangs that were shooting up the
Mm.
town. And he was actually shot in the line of duty with his own gun. It wasn't serious, he was shot in the ankle. But my dad always remembered the stories my grandmother told of the knock on the door of, Mrs. Tucker, grab your son, come with us, your husband's been shot. And trauma medicine in 1935 was much different than trauma medicine today. So when I expressed an interest of going into law enforcement, my dad was like, nope. You're going to go to college. You're going to major in business. You're going to get out, get a great job, get married, have 2.4 kids, and live in the suburbs, live happily ever after.
2.4.
But that's what my dad wanted me to do. That wasn't my passion. And when I graduated from college, my
Mm.
dad was sick. He was dying of cancer. So I had a
Mhm.
choice. I could blaze my own trail, which I felt was my passion, or out of love and respect for him, I could go into business because that's what he wanted. So that's what I did. I went, my first two jobs were in business. Then I sort of
Mhm.
joke. I did what every good son did. I waited till my father passed away, followed my
Oh.
own dreams.
Okay, Terry. Yes. Well, a lot of times, people are going down that journey. They're doing things that their parents, kind of wanted them to do, which is unique is that he modeled what that looks like, but then it's kind of the fear that, I don't want my son, something happening to him. So I want him to go a completely different, journey and a path. So, with all of that you shared, and even talking about you're dealing with this rare cancer that you have, um, what is that feeling of fear? What causes you to have that? Is
I think
yeah.
for me, it's just not doing what I'm supposed to do, not following my heart, not living my purpose. And I mean, there are a lot of people out there. I would say the vast majority of the people in the world are, just kind of living a casual life. And as a
Um,
result of that casual life, their dreams, their goals, their aspirations become a casualty of that unplanned living. So for me, what causes me fear is not to follow my purpose, not to follow my heart. And so I've always tried to do that. And my purpose has changed over time. And I guess maybe I
mhm.
should back up a little bit. We always think that our purpose needs to be our job, that it's got to be what we do for a living. It doesn't.
Right.
I mean, you could have a job over here that you do to pay the bills, but your purpose is to write or to paint or to be an activist or to volunteer, whatever it is. But what I always say is, especially to young people, if there's something in your heart, something in your soul that you feel you should do and it
Yeah.
scares you, go ahead and do it. Because at the end of your life, the things you're going to regret are not going to be the things you did. They're going to be the things you didn't do. And by then, it's going to be too late to go back and do them.
So I was resonating with your energy, and I immediately was like called to shuffle, and so already aligned was literally the card that came out, and the theme is a purpose, and it literally says, "What is the point of it all?" Is the trigger, and the true statement says, "I'm special." It says you have a unique place in this world with gifts and talents that only you can provide. Use your connection with the divine to share them. And so it's like, yeah, like you're totally resonating, with that and doing the purpose. But it's like people are having that purpose and wanting to do those things. But you, even in your own story, like you had that desire, but you kind of joked and saying, I waited till my dad passed away. What is it that you would recommend now for somebody who doesn't want to wait for somebody to pass away or whatever the case may be in order to make that change? Like, what would you do differently, or how would you encourage someone?
Yeah, that's going to involve some very tough and difficult conversations, especially if
Mhm.
it's somebody close to you, somebody you love, your parents, your grandparents, an uncle, somebody like that who is like, yeah, you're going to take over the family business. Well, I really don't want to take over the family business. Or, yeah,
Mm.
you're going to be an engineer. Well, I really don't want, I want to be a plumber. That's my passion. That's what I want to do. And I think you just have to, I mean, I have a very deep faith in God. I would say pray about it. And I think you
Mhm.
just have to say, look, my heart tells me that I should do X, whatever X is for you. I mean, you just said it. We're not all born with the same gifts and talents, but we all
Mhm.
have the ability to become the best person that we're capable of becoming. So, you get to the point where you just say to the person, look, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I believe in my heart I'm supposed to do. And I know
Yeah.
you're not going to, I would like you to support me. I would like you to love me. If you don't, I get it, but I still have to blaze my own path. I still have to do
Yes.
what God put me on this earth to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other card that had came out that was sitting there, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna wait. There's gonna be tension in these conversations that are going to be had. And it's gonna be usually a trigger for that tension is gonna be like, I have nothing left. It's like, okay, I'm really not feeling like I can provide or do this anymore. But then the true statement is about the nurturing yourself. And it's encouraging, dear one, it's time to settle, create a sacred space where you can be in that place of rest, healing will unfold. So it's like the theme was release. It's like you have to release the other expectations that other people may have for you in order to live the life that you are meant to live. You don't want to get to the end like I have nothing left to give because I'm just tired and just burnt out from doing something that somebody else wanted me to do. But yeah, it's real talk. It's gonna be tension, like I said, of difficult, like, kind of conversation.
But
So
can
how
you learn
did
something from that tension? Can you learn how to be a better person? Can you learn how to
yes,
negotiate? I mean, I don't care how bad it is, you can still learn something from it. And
absolutely.
that's right. You can learn something from tension, from, having somebody pushing you to do something you don't want to do. Sometimes you have to just stand up for yourself and say, no, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over here. I love you. I care about you, but this is my passion. This is my purpose. This is my why. And I'm going down
Yes.
that road. Please support me. If you don't, I understand that.
Yes. Okay. Absolutely. So you have these transitions, you go into your career, you're doing all these different things. So, and I'm looking at your title. So, what is motivational check? What is that?
So Motivational Check is a blog that I started back in 2019. And there's kind of that old joke that says, when we talk to God, it's called prayer. When God talks to us, it's called schizophrenia. So I want your listeners to, to think that, God spoke to me. But I think what God does is put people in your paths that are making suggestions. And I think I'm smart enough to realize when enough people are saying something and they're saying the same thing, that I ought to perk up and be like, oh, maybe I ought to listen to what was going on. Because I was
Yes.
totally resistant to starting a blog. And it was like, wait a minute, I'm old. I can barely turn my cell phone on in the morning. What do you mean start a blog? I mean, my blog was 4 pages long when it started. It took me 4 months. My 25-year-old
Mm,
daughter probably could have done it in 15 minutes, but it literally took me 4 months because I didn't know what I was doing. But the
mhm,
title Motivational Check came from my time in the police academy when our defensive tactics instructor, it was a phrase that anybody could yell out at any time if they were just, I'm having a bad day. This is tough. I can't get through it. And so you would just yell out motivational check. And then the class
mm,
would respond with an 84. We were the 84th recruit class to let that person know that, hey, you're not alone. We're all here
yeah.
together. We're all hurting and we will get through this together. So I just thought, when I was looking for a title, that motivational check seemed to be a good title for the blog.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, absolutely feeling that, love that. Cause like I said, military background,
Mhm.
it's called the cadence and
Yeah.
they're running and it's like it's tough. And I know like my husband was like really good at that. Just motivate like this whole rhythm. And that's exactly what it is. It's like you're going through the motions and you just kind of want to check in. And I love that you guys, had that.
Yeah.
So you're doing this blog and it takes you 4 months. During that time, what encouraged you to keep going? Was it the 84? Did you do your own motivational check? Like,
I did. I mean, literally, it was 2019. So I mean, in 2018, I had my left foot amputated, and so I would lay in bed at night and be like, I was really kind of at a crossroads in my life. It's like,
mm,
okay, what next? Where do I go? What do I do? What do you want me to do? And again, this blog stuff started coming out. So I mean, and it was good for me because it allowed me to learn and to grow in how to put a blog together. How do you do this? Where do you start? And things
mhm,
like that. So it, like I said, it literally took me 4 months to put 4 pages together. But I also didn't want to just throw something up there. I wanted to have something that was good, that the content was good. And
mhm,
every day I put up a a thought for the day. And with that thought comes a question that maybe you could use that question to apply the thought to your life and make yourself better that day. And then on Mondays, I put up the Monday morning motivational message. And that's usually a video or a story that I find something on YouTube or something. Oh, this is really good. And put it on just to
Mm-hmm.
help people get a quick hit of inspiration or motivation and then move on with their lives. So that's what motivational check is all about.
Okay, so today is Tuesday, and I'm feeling like to ask you, what was the motivational check yesterday? What did you write about?
Boy, I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah, please do. We're here for it.
Um,
Like,
yeah, I mean, so let's see. So Tuesday, so here's what. Okay, so Tuesdays was you only struggle because you're ready to grow, but aren't willing to let go.
say that again.
You only struggle because you're ready to grow, but aren't willing to let go.
Mm, wow. Okay. So again, an energy connection while you were reading that was literally came out inspiration is the theme. And again, it's talking about the forward before was like you won't let go. And the other thing was the release. Like you
Yeah,
won't let go. But you're saying that I have nothing left. And this one says I'm tired of it all as a trigger. But the reality is I find my strength in my purpose is what we went back and we had the conversation earlier talking about living what your purpose in the society, figuring out that moment that you had with God, like, okay, like my foot is amputated. What am I supposed to be doing? Like, you need to make this really clear, right?
yeah,
And it's like, please rest and know that in this stillness, you will find clarity around your purpose here. The need to cope will fall away as you find to the question you are the answer to. The
I like
question that you are the
the answer.
answer
I like that.
to, right?
Yeah,
So it's like, but you got to be willing to ask the question. You got to,
yeah.
tap in and do that. So that is amazing because yeah, so totally in a line with what you're sharing and what that is going to be. So you're putting out this blog for people to connect with you and give them like the inspiration. Is it just the blog? Do you coach, have one-to-one conversations with people? Like what else?
I mean, I do occasionally when people reach out. I wrote a book in 2020 called Sustainable Excellence: The 10 Principles to Leading Your Uncommon and Extraordinary Life.
Mm,
But I'm still undergoing cancer treatment. In 2020, I had my leg amputated. I found out at that time I had tumors in my lungs, and I'm still being treated for those tumors now. So I kind of have to balance, the week I'm at the hospital getting treated, and then I get 2 weeks off, and then I go back for another week. So it's sort of a 3 week cycle. So it's in between all that, I'm trying to put up some content. I'm trying to put up write some speeches for when I do speak and promote the book and things like that. So it's and do podcasts. I mean, with the pandemic, people aren't really getting motivational speakers. They're most of this stuff has kind of been online, and I've tapped into some of that, but podcasts have really been kind of my vehicle or my avenue, and
mhm.
it's been great. I've probably done 250 or so of them from all around the world, and have met some amazing people, some great people, and I have yet to have a bad experience. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. So the message I got is that you are an inspiration because what I realized is that when you started your story and your history, you didn't lead off with the fact that you had this rare cancer. You didn't lead off with, foot amputation, leg amputation. And like you said, looking at this screen and looking at you, would have never suspected that whatsoever. But
Yeah,
here,
go ahead.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I had a nurse ask me, recently, what was it like to have your foot amputated and your leg amputated and that. And I told her it hasn't been easy. I'm still learning how to walk again with a prosthetic, to trust the prosthetic. And, when you're a little kid and you learn to walk, you fall over and you laugh and you have a good time. When you're 6'8", you fall over, you get hurt. So,
Mm,
it's not something that you want to do. But, she what I told her was that, cancer can take all my physical faculties, but cancer can't
Yeah.
touch my mind, it can't touch my heart, and it can't touch my soul. And that's who I am. That's who you are. And, this is just a house or a vessel or whatever you want to call it to
Yes.
house who we are. And we get so hung up in our physical appearance and what are people going to say? He's ugly or he's like, yeah. I have a tremendous amount of scars all over my body, but I'm proud of those scars because I earned them.
Mm,
I went
yes.
through hell. And there's an old saying from Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister of Great Britain during World War II, who said, when you're going through hell, keep going. And, I've been through hell and I'm trying to keep going. And so, cancer doesn't define me. I am much bigger than cancer.
Indeed, because clearly you're not leading with that. You're not letting people see that that's what's going on with you, and that's why you're like this inspiration. You're not talking about I have nothing left. I had this experience. I'm ready to give up. I'm tired of it all. It's like you're still going through these things, and it's like you're, you know, admitting and saying that hey, these things are happening, but you are living. Going back to the first card is the purpose that you have for that, and so it is. Um, Beautiful and refreshing because sometimes individuals get caught up in a low vibe feeling, which is victimhood.
Yeah.
Like, why did this happen to me? Oh, woe is me. I'm not able to do this or able to do that. And it's like, yes, you had that experience, but it's exactly like what you said. We are spiritual beings just having a human experience,
Yeah,
right?
we're all going to experience pain in our lives, and it doesn't have to be cancer pain or chronic or a terminal illness like mine. You could flunk a test at school, or break up with your boyfriend or your girlfriend, or not get the
Yes.
promotion at work that you think you deserve. Pain is inevitable. Suffering, on the
Hmm.
other hand, suffering's optional. Suffering's what you do with that pain. Do you use it to make you a stronger and better and more determined individual, or do you
Yes.
wallow in it and feel sorry for yourself and want others to feel sorry for you? It's a choice. And, our life is defined by the choices that we make.
Yes. So you said something by Winston Churchill, and Winston Churchill is actually has one of my favorite quotes, and that aligns with what you're talking about. And it goes, "To each in their lifetime, there comes a special moment when they are figuratively tapped on the shoulder and offered the chance to do a very special thing, unique to them and fitted to their talents. What a tragedy if that moment finds them unprepared or unqualified for that which could have been their finest hour." Winston Churchill. And it goes right into the purpose, like what is the reason why we're doing all of these things. And so it's like we take these moments and continue to prepare. Like all of the stuff that you went through, I think has prepared you for what you're having this experience now, how you can be this inspiration to do this blog and share this motivational information to everyone. So that's like totally, totally amazing. So now that you're doing this and because you're looking forward, what does Terry's future look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, I sort of say, last year, I had these big tumors in my lungs, and I had fluid all around the pleural spaces of my lungs, and I remember looking at my doctor, and it was like, how was I alive? And my
Mm,
doctor was like, I don't know, I don't know how you were alive, which told me that God's not done with me yet. And so,
no. Mm-mm.
I wrote this book, and the book is a lot about success, and I think I'd like to write another book about another word that begins with S that I think is even more important, and that word is significance.
Mm.
Success is what we do for ourselves. We are successful at podcasting or whatever it is. Significance is what we do for other people. Now, I think you can be both. I think you can be successful and significant. But I think in terms of where do I go next, I would like to see if I could write this second book. Again, I really kind of feel the first one was sort of inspired by God. I wrote it
Yeah.
in a 3-month period between the time I had my leg amputated and the time that I started chemotherapy for the tumors in my lungs. And, I sort of joke, I think, as God, like, just sit down at the computer and type what I tell you to type, dummy, and we'll be good. We'll get a book, you
We
know?
call that channeling.
Yeah, exactly.
A
It's like, here
download,
you go,
like
book,
yes.
so I've never written a book before, so it was just something I felt compelled to do. And it was another situation like the blog where people were like, you should write a book. You should write a book. And I again totally, sort of poo pooed it, like, nah, I'm not a
Mm,
writer. And that kind of thing. And then it happened, and that so I like to think I'm going to be open to whatever is next. And if what's next is it's time to go, then it's time to go. And I think if you find your purpose in life and you live that purpose, in the end, death is not nearly as scary as a lot of people think it is. And I heard a
mm,
Native American Blackfoot proverb years ago, and it goes like this: when you were born, you cried and the world rejoiced. Live your life in such a way so that when you die, the world cries and you rejoice. That's what I want.
love that, Terry. That is amazing. And I definitely think you have been figuratively tapped on the shoulder for that special moment that your book is definitely absolutely going to be significant and it's going to reach those individuals where they absolutely where they're at that time. And yeah, and what you're describing is those signs. When people keep telling you that is, God, like, okay, here it is, another tap, 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 tap. I'm needing you to do this, because it's part of your purpose. So for that first book, where can individuals find that?
Yeah, sustainable excellence is pretty much available anywhere you can get a book online. So Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, Apple iBooks, anywhere you can get a book online, you can get sustainable excellence.
Absolutely. And I'm sure those are all going to be the same places that you're going to be able to get the book about significant. So it's amazing. Thank you, Terry, so much for coming to chat with me and being an inspiration for those that may be out there like feeling like they're tired or they have nothing left. But looking at you and doing this work and being on all these, podcasts and showing people another side of cancer, another side of amputation. You're definitely doing your purpose work. And I just want to say thank you so much for having this all intuitive conversation with me.
Well, thank you for having me on. I always say it's good people like you that allow me to come on, and hopefully, between our conversation, we're going to make a difference in somebody's life. And if we do that, to me, today's been a good day.
It's been a good day. Awesome. So hold on as we do the outro. Thank you for those that have watched us live and that have engaged with us on the replay. See you next week.